Yeah,
Well, shoot, how was the week?
good.
Anything too
Very good.
exciting? You back? You're working yet? Back to work?
Yeah, I worked. I'm not working like full time. I just kind of work from like 10 to 3, mostly on the current apartment I've got going on, and then I had a couple days of showings. They weren't like super full days. Yesterday I did from like noon to 5 or 6 p.m. just until dark, just something like that. Nothing crazy.
What are you on? Working on the Aplex?
Yeah, yep. Redoing one more apartment came up vacant, so I just ripped out all the flooring, pulled out all of the carpet tack strips and the staples that staple the padding into the old wood floors, all that stuff. Doing it just with fencing pliers and pull them out.
Oh, I'm sure that sounds great.
Yeah,
So I'm
nothing.
scrolling through Twitter yesterday morning, Bob, and I was just looking at basically the debate: Are we at World War III? That's my question. Like, it was like half the people are saying yes because didn't they used U.S. missiles or whatever?
Yeah, and I didn't receive any updates yesterday. The day before, I think, is the last information I heard, but seemed kind of like Putin was still willing to sit down and talk with Trump to figure things out. I haven't really heard anything since then. Um, I Yeah, I mean we're probably as close as we've ever been. I mean, but
Uh,
you know,
Well, I
is
mean,
it
it
going
sounds
on?
like I mean, yeah, I was going to say like, what? How do you classify it? But it kind of sounds like they're still working out deals. Um, Trump's working out deals underneath the table or with the peace, whatever that's called, with the UN. Sounds like he's working deals on. Well, he's not even in there.
Yeah, I've seen nothing but a lot of all kinds of different countries that are like seems like they're ready to settle down and talk about it and figure things out.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's time to get away from some wars. We've been at them for long enough now.
Yeah, there's only a few people on planet Earth that benefit from these wars, and it ain't
Yeah,
us.
yeah. No, but I mean, some wars though, right? They kind of bring a collectiveness to the country, or no?
Well, some wars you have to fight as a country. Yeah, and some wars the byproduct can be patriotism or that kind of stuff. But even if let's say if the Iraq war, like Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, let's say those instilled a lot of patriotism into our country. Is that a good thing? Yeah, right? Like it's good for
Mm-hmm.
us to all believe that, you know, we're doing great things as a country. But if those wars were started on the premise of a lie for profit and a lot of innocent people were killed in the process, is that a worthwhile cost for us to feel patriotism?
Yeah, well,
You know,
especially not
I'm
in
not
that war.
saying
That
I'm not saying that I have all the answers or that's what's going on or anything, but you got to think about that for sure. Wars are
yeah,
expensive in terms of human cost.
yeah, no kidding. A human life's cost as well. I mean, Iraq and Afghanistan's been crazy. I
Yeah,
mean, like, I'm listening to who's just on Rogan's the Black Rifle Coffee guy. Have you listened to that one? I just started the Joe Rogan's podcast with what's that guy's name that Evan Hafer, the Black Rifle Coffee Company guy,
yeah, that was a good one.
and hearing about Afghanistan's culture and like the very beginning. Man, it's so dark, but it's so intriguing. It's like, and he's just like, I thought everybody knew this about the uh what's the political right way to say this when the I mean everyone's all the guys are screwing each other and they're raping little boys and you know
Well,
flaunting them around and like parades and stuff. I was just like, how sick, you know? It's unbelievable that people can be that.
gives
How
you a
can that
little
even
bit
be
of
like accepted at all?
in a culture. Yeah, it gives you a little bit of insight to. I was thinking about this the other day, especially after that when you go through the Bible and you hear stories about like the flood and Sodom and Gomorrah and you're like, how can a God who's supposed to be all love do something like destroy a whole city, with that kind of stuff. But if you
Right.
actually study the story, it's like, okay, well, God sends the two angels into the city of Sodom to go to Lot's house. This is, I think, it's Abraham's nephew, um, and because Abraham was kind of intercessing on behalf of the people, trying to have God not destroy the city. And God's like, okay, well, if there's 50, righteous people, then yeah, I'll spare the city. And so they send him into the city to meet with Lot's nephew, or Abraham's nephew Lot. And the first thing the entire city wants to do, all of the men in the city hear that there was two visitors that went to Lot's house, and they go and knock on the door, and they say, "Hey, Lot, bring those guests out here." And essentially, they were going to gang rape them. And that was just it's trying to express to you how bad a culture or how sick a culture can become. And it's that entire story, God talks about how the crying out of victims in that city is so distressing to him that he has to do something about it, because there's so much evil being perpetrated, because it's just part of the way of life that humans have an ability to devolve into terrible, unmanageable situations that we in America have very easily forgotten about, or are not. We don't think about it because we're very isolated and we are very comfortable, and everything's convenient and easy, and most of us have enjoyed relative safety for a long time. Like, we don't live under constant threat of physical evil and harm being done to us on a daily basis, and so it's hard for us to comprehend what that's like.
Yeah, and you think about the biblical times and how long ago that was, and you would like to think like us as a species have came, surpassed this, like as the human race has, been able to work past these types of things. But I the one thing you can't beat is this thing between your ears, um, and that we were born in sin, so you're always like naturally drawn uh, to these things. It's just, I mean, how still, I guess it comes a lot down to nature versus nurture, that we don't have enough, or is it just like what? I'm trying to figure out at what point someone said, okay, we can accept this, um, as a culture.
Well, if if you can't you don't reach that place overnight. It's all about, you read the book The Slight Edge. Every little
Yeah, yeah.
increment matters. Every little decision matters. It's all part of forming a chain of decisions, which are what form you as a human. I mean,
Hmm.
this is true in any aspect of your life, whether you're trying to make, morally positive or negative life choices, or you're trying to make choices in business, or just how you're going to live your life in general. My shop teacher, who was like a father figure to me, he used to say, if something is worth doing, it's worth doing right, or with everything that you've got in you. And it's just a habit of making decisions in a certain way or that lean towards a certain persuasion. I mean, everything is not so much the result of a decision, it's the result of decision after decision after decision after decision. And us as humans are so easily desensitized in certain things that after a certain time, enough bad things happen to you, and you just start not caring about doing bad things to other people, and it's a compounding effect. And you put hundreds of thousands of people together and have
Uh,
them all impacting each other positively and negatively, and it can reach levels that you never thought possible.
little tech technological
Must been mean we
crappy
were
internet.
must mean we were doing something good, huh?
Yeah, they're trying to interfere with us, aren't they? Oh
I
gosh.
would I would never think that way.
Oh yeah. Look at that. Okay, well let's get into what we're actually going to talk about today. I wrote this down
Okay.
somewhere. Oh, yeah. I texted you earlier this week, and I said I want to talk about goal setting. I uh, I was standing in front of the mirror the other day, and I keep a expo marker handy next to my mirror, and I was just like, what thinking, what do I want from life at this point? I'm kind of at that beginning stage where you can kind of choose like what direction your life is going to go. I mean, you can always change, and it will change, but I kind of just, sat in front of the mirror and was just like, what do I want? Um, because I feel like right now I'm just kind of like running through fog with like a not so clear of direction of where I want to go. So I wanted to get a little insight from you, anyways. So when did you set your goals, and when did you decide you were going to commit your life to these?
Well, I mean that's kind of a tough question, but kind of not. It's a great question. There's some goals that I have had just kind of innately, like growing up. I always knew I wanted to like either have my own business or businesses of some kind. I couldn't have articulated to you at a young age what those were, but I just kind of knew that I was oriented in that direction and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So there's some things that are just kind of have been with me for a long time. Um, Probably from observing my dad and that kind of stuff from a young age growing up, just seeing the results of his life choices and always having my eyes and ears open to the world around me and seeing what different people's lives were like and what they went through and what the results of their decisions were. That was something from a very young age I knew I wanted to do. I didn't know what until honestly until my deployment in the military. Any downtime I had, I think I told you on the last episode that was when I started to just really research about financial freedom and that kind of stuff. And real estate seemed to
Right.
be the path to take for that. So once we actually like dove in, you know, full on, we both work for ourselves and we've got this little LLC started up and we're just gonna make this thing work. That's probably when we really got serious about what our vision was for.
So you knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur. When did you? Because I know you on the last one you started talking about making dream boards and vision boards and such, and I was just I don't know did a lot of thinking about that over this week and was like, what's the goal here? What's and then and how do you really like commit to these things? Like I'm going to spend my next 10 years trying to accomplish these, however many goals you write down in a sense.
Right. And it can, I mean, I'm trying to think back to that time, whatever that was 10 years ago, probably now. Um, I just remember us having a huge vision. It was much larger. Um, that's just kind of been the way we've operated. If we're going to do something, we're going to set our goal astronomically high so that regardless of what we achieve, when we look back at it, we're like, okay, well, that's not too shabby. We did all right. Like, same thing yesterday, I think it was Saturday. Yeah, yesterday. I haven't like actually rucked in a long time. So I woke up yesterday and I was like, I'm going to give myself 1 hour to do as much as I can. I threw 50 and a half pounds on was how much gear I had. And I was like, well, I've only got 1 hour. I know I can't do a 10K in 1 hour. I know I can maybe do a 5K, but I'm gonna try a 10K. So that regardless, I get as far as I possibly can. You know what I mean? We've always been that way. Just like
Absolutely.
shoot for way farther and and
Yeah.
fail at it.
All or
But
nothing.
yeah,
Yeah, that's that's the same thing Morgan and I did this morning. We're like, okay, we got a 4 mile run is on the agenda. We just started training for a half marathon, so started training for that again, and it was our first long run, which is 4 miles, and take off. And Morgan's like, "Oh, I have a 4 mile loop." I don't think she knows what 4 miles is because we turned the corner at 4.5, and I'm like, we got another half mile, so we ended up running 5 miles. And I'm like, she's like, "Well, better be too long than too short." I'm like, "Yeah, well, you got me there."
yep.
So, but yeah, but I mean, is it strategical to set this huge goal that is 10 years, 20 years, however long down the road, um, and then chunk it up into 5 years, chunk it down further into a year, chunk it down further into a month, and then a week, and then daily, or how did you kind of set your goals up in your life around these things?
Yeah, so and that's a really good question because it helps differentiate between like the like we're talking about a fitness goal and that's how and then we were talking about how like when we first were outlining our vision for what we wanted to do going into business and it was
Yeah,
astronomically huge, like title companies, escrow companies, lending companies, all this kind of stuff. But when you break it down into like the day-to-day business operations, if you want to, and this is especially true in real estate or in a sales career, everything can be broken down by the numbers. And it is absolutely strategic or beneficial for you to do so, because you can literally track down a really good idea of how many phone calls you need to make or how many appointments you need to go on to hit your goals. And this is critical for success in a sales business. I believe, anyways, it was a big part of our success. And this was more your
right.
sister doing this kind of breakdown of actual numbers. But it's like, okay, if we want to sell this many houses this year, then what does that look like in terms of how many appointments do we have to go on? Okay, well, let's look at our track record currently. It's like for every if you go on 3 listing appointments and you get 2 out of those 3, okay, then you've got a 66% hit rate on your listings. So X number of appointments are needed to get X number of listings. And you know that in the current market, if you've got 6 listings in a month, then 2 of them are going to get an offer that month. That it's you can really work backwards and figure out exactly what you have to do in almost any aspect of your business to achieve what you want to. And I think that's very important, especially for entrepreneurs who are our income is not always guaranteed or certain or anything like that. So you gotta really put a lot of thought and intention behind making sure you can put food on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just over here thinking about like if I wanted to go ahead and start, something on the side or a side business or such. Um, but I don't really know. I guess I don't know enough about like the market at which you're going into. Um, did you guys do a lot of research on the market before you even got into the deal?
Yeah, well, and real estate's also one of those deals that anybody you talk to when you are getting ready to start, it's going to be kind of like a sink or swim kind of deal. I mean, we there's really good opportunities out there, like in our career field. When we were getting started, there was really good opportunities in like teams and stuff like that, where you could have access to training and all kinds of things, where they would teach you these things to like break down what you need to do to be successful and all that kind of stuff. There's and that's one of the main reasons that we started with Keller Williams. There was a lot of training and information available to us up in Alaska where we started and got licensed. That was very appealing to us because our only experience in real estate was our own. We had, bought our first investment and that kind of stuff, and I had done about 6 or 7 months of research into real estate myself, just more on the investing side than the sales side. So we really liked that Keller Williams offered all kinds of classes and programs you could go through that were designed to kind of jumpstart your real estate career and give you confidence, when you're going on these appointments and stuff like that, and you have to know what you're talking about a little bit. So it was very helpful for us to find a company that we partnered with when we started that offered that training and information.
How important do you think that is before you start a business? Knowing your market, would you um, spend more time researching uh, what you're getting into before you started? Would you recommend that, or would you recommend to just jumping into something more blind and kind of figuring it out as you go?
Well, it honestly depends on what you want out of life. If I'm going to be blunt with you, because the number one determiner of success, in my opinion, in the entrepreneurial field is action. And here's a little case study for you. One of the guys who founded Netflix, already made his exit, got quite a few million buckaroos out of it, and does venture capital now, with a partner. And one of the key things that they look for before they decide to invest in someone or someone's idea is what action have they taken. And then he outlined the story of how Netflix got started, because I don't know if you remember this, but Netflix used to not be a streaming platform. It used to be they would mail you CDs. And so this was back when there was Blockbusters
Oh,
that were stores you would go to rent
oh,
a movie. Yeah, this is long before your time, probably. But so Netflix started this whole new paradigm shift of actually mailing your movies to you. And the first thing that they came up was like, okay, well, we're going to be doing something brand new. Is it even possible? So the first thing they do before they start an LLC, they mail some CDs to themselves to like figure out, start getting data. Like, is this going to just scratch? Is this doable? It's a fascinating look at how success in the entrepreneurial world is almost more hinged on your ability to fail forward. You have to try things, do things, and learn as you go. Like, it really is fast paced, and I think the high achievers are usually the ones that take action and learn from it. But if you're not bent on being an entrepreneur, if you're looking for certain things in your life like stability or a reliable paycheck, going down that road might not be the best path for you. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, there's a lot
yeah,
of risk involved in that, but
yeah. I mean, I'm speaking in a super broad sense because a goal, because like I was writing down my goals, and one of them's like become a millionaire. That's like my financial goal. Then it's like become an influencer. Then one of them's like become a model for Christianity, and like these like those are like my large scale top of the line. If I make it to the end of there, like shooting for the stars type deals. Um, and if you come up short, like you still made it, right? Like those are like the
Right.
far end goals. Um, so,
Well,
but
let's
like
talk
the
about your first one,
prepper,
becoming a millionaire.
yeah,
Let's just dissect that one a little bit. Are you down for that?
yeah, let's do it. I haven't, uh, I haven't
Can
dissected
you hear
it
me?
yet, anyway, so we might as well do it. Yes.
Okay. So if you number one, from my perspective, obviously, I don't live with you and look through your finances on a daily basis, but from and can you still hear me?
Yeah. I
Okay,
just turned off
sweet.
the camera to see
So
if it'd help with the.
yeah, maybe that'll help. So obviously, I don't like live with you and go through your finances or anything like that. But from what I understand, I can already tell you, you will achieve that goal, and it's just a matter of time. If you most people are capable of becoming a millionaire in their lifetime for sure, and I think most people set their target like retirement account amount at like roughly $1 million, something like that, depending on who they are and what they want their lifestyle to look like in retirement. But the reason that one of the reasons Mel and I were inclined to grind so hard in the younger years of our life or the start of our careers was because I learned over the course of keeping my eyes and ears open as a young man that one of the most beneficial and leverageable tools in the world for building wealth is time itself. And you learn this in all kinds of math classes and accounting classes. If you take those kinds of courses, you understand the power of compound interest. And that was something that was hammered into me from a young age, and I figured it's probably like a 110-100 ratio of if you invest $1 and you only give it 10 years versus if you invest $1 and you give it 100 years, there's so much more impact on your investment over that long haul amount of time. So getting a substantial financial foundation underneath us at a young age was important for me because it would allow that time effect to really play out in our life. So you being in your situation where you're at your age, obviously, what, a decade younger than me, something like that, you're already ahead of the game. You've got investments at your age that are going to literally, if you kind of extrapolate what the market has done historically and is projected to do in the future, you should be able to hit your goal by a pretty reasonable age, even if you slow down. Or I'm not saying you should slow down, but by the standard retirement age, you should be in great shape. It's based off of how young you are and what you've already done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But like, I mean, you know how I am. Mine is like, how do I get to that goal as fast as I can? That's like where my mind automatically goes. So that's what I'm trying to think about right now. And that's what I was kind of talking about, choosing, setting your goals and then choosing your career paths kind of around these top goals. And if those goals can lead you to that finance goal. Because that's like the ultimate goal, right? To have your big goals of what you want to do and what you really really want to do in this world, and then that leads you to money. Like that's what it'll just end result will be. You'll get your finances from doing the thing you love. Like that's everyone's goal in life. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How am I going to get there the fastest? Doing the things that I love, and that's what I'm really circling the gate and doing some planning on right now.
You're trying to find your ikigai. Have you ever heard of that?
What?
It's
What the heck
a
is a
it's a
ikigai?
Jap- it's a Japanese term, and it's your thing in life that you do that you are good at passionate about and able to make a living doing or make money at. When you can hit all three of those factors in your pursuit, it is considered an ikigai.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to figure that out. I guess a second part because on top of teaching, um, or wherever the teaching field takes me, but um, on top of that, to get me there, quicker, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, still trying to figure that one out. So, and I'm sure it'll
Well,
change
just
next
remember
month.
it, right. Just remember the number of success stories in the world that didn't uh, didn't happen until people were in their 50s or their 60s or whatever. Like it's if you keep grinding forward with the right heart and the right mind, you will be successful. There's no doubt in
Hmm.
my mind about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that was a pretty solid episode, Bob. I know it's going to be super botchy and kind of chopped up with all the internet errors, but I thought that was pretty good.
We got some good stuff out of there, but yeah. And next time you're in town, let's plan out some. We'll sit down in person and do some so that they're clean cut.
Oh yeah, you'll be way better in person too. I can actually like see your face and stuff.
Right. It's a whole different
Yeah,
ball game.
it really is. But yeah, yeah, well for sure. Well, I'll be over there this weekend, so we'll get one in before I take off.
Okay, before we get all fat on Turkey Day.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't got to be before Turkey Day. It can be while we're fat and sitting back and just pick up a microphone.
Yeah,
But
I can talk when I'm fat too.
yeah. All right, Bob. Have a good week.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. You too, buddy. Take care.
All righty. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.